This section is the recovery practice for the swim. And the element associated with this practice is water. So we're going to be very fluid, and we're going to do some wonderful things to help open up our shoulders and our back, our triceps, our deltoids, our pectorals. All these things are going to be really complementary to our swim. So let's start in a seated pose, everybody. If you're a little bit tight in your hips, grab your blanket, fold that over a couple of times. That's going to give you a little advantage. We're going to sit upright. Let's practice our Ujjayi breath. This is our whisper breath, where we're breathing in and out through our nostrils with a little whisper in the back of our throat, like this. Keep going, in through the nostrils and back out through the nostrils. I'm looking for a full, complete exhale. This is going to help us calm down our nervous system and at the same time expand our lung capacity. In through the nostrils, fill up your rib cage. Long exhale back out the nostrils. Keep going and really focus on filling up your entire rib cage and giving yourself enough time to breathe all the way back out. So before a swim, after a swim, this is a great way to keep our lung capacity expanded, oxygen moving through the body, but also our nervous system calm. Another great breathing exercise is called Bhastrika, and this is known as the bellows breath. And we're going to use this to help give us a greater lung capacity to improve our swimming. Hands on knees, we're going to go like this. Now keep going, and the idea here is to let our whole body engage and bringing deep breath in and out of our nostrils. And then after you've done about 7 or 8 rounds of that, pause and give yourself a moment. Feel free to do that a few times to really get things moving before a swim. Great way to recover after a swim. So as we move now into the asana, or the yoga pose portion of this practice, let's start lying down on our backs. We want to make sure that we have some of these props handy, a blanket or a block, a foam roller that we might be able to use a little bit later. But let's start lying down on our backs with our knees bent. So as we start here on our back, we want to do a slight little walk together of our shoulder blades. The muscles between the shoulder blades are called your rhomboids. And as they get strong, that's going to help our swimming. It's also going to start to gently, passively stretch our pecs, which get super tight when we swim. Balance your knees right up over your ankles. Point your toes straight forward. Hug your lower back into the floor a little bit. Then as you exhale, we're going to peel our tailbone and roll slowly up into this pose called bridge pose. And as you inhale, we're going to slowly roll back down, one vertebra at a time, back down to the floor. Again, our exhale, you're going to push your feet into the floor, lift slowly up into bridge. And as you inhale, slow motion roll back down. Exhaling, we'll lift back up. Inhale, slowly roll back down. This is going to get some of our hamstrings fired up. Okay? This is going to be great recovery from all the work we did with our legs in the swim, but also keeps our spine active, which can get really jammed up if we've swam for long distances and haven't had a chance to recover from that yet. Then after you've done that a few times, hold this for a moment, walk your shoulder blades together even more, and bend your elbows. Make fists and pull your elbows into the floor. Lift your chin slightly toward the ceiling. You want the back of your head free from the ground. We'll lift the hips up and walk our shoulder blades together. Actively pull the elbows into the floor as we broaden our chest. Strengthen the muscles in the upper part of the back. A little passive stretch for the chest muscles, the pectorals. Then after a couple of those, we're going to release, come back down. And let's roll back up to a seated pose. So I'm going to maybe roll over to my side and make my way back up. And so as we recover from our swim, we got to loosen up a lot of the tension that we got in our shoulders by doing our repetitive motion over and over and over again. Let's put our fingertips to our shoulders, and with an inhale, lift your chin, lift your chest, open this thing up. As you exhale, pull this thing back together. And again, inhale, open up your chin and your chest, and as you exhale, pull this back together. Inhale, open this thing up, and exhale, pull this back together. A couple times in each direction. going to feel great after swimming. Elbows pull back together as you exhale. And then after a couple of those, put your hands down on your knees and just do a little tilt to one direction and the other direction. Coordinate this with your breathing. So maybe your inhale moves you in one way, your exhale moves you in the other way. And with all this, I'm not interested in the most intense version of any of these, but just something that adds a little bit of motion to these joints. A little release for these muscles that get tired when we do the same thing over and over and over again. Here's one of my favorite stretches for the neck. If you extend one arm off to the side, put your other hand on top. Don't pull into your head, but push your head into your hand and tilt your ear toward your shoulder, and then relax that other shoulder down. And then imagine your breath moving into that side of your body, or focus on that area as you reach with that other arm. It's an awesome stretch. I can feel this all the way down my neck, into my arm. And then coming out of this pose, I'm going to put my hand to the underside of my head and then push this back up to neutral before I do the same thing on the other side. Hand on top of my head, inhale nice and tall, and then exhale, gently tilt that over in the other direction. Remember, I'm not pulling using my hand. I'm just pushing up into my hand, pulling this over, and using that deep breath as I send some attention and energy down into that side of my neck for a couple of deep breaths here. So I think this is my, bar none, favorite neck stretch ever. And then I want to show you my favorite shoulder stretch ever. Bring one of your arms, cross it over the other, wrap it up, and then lift your elbows up off your chest, press your forearms away from your nose, and inhale as you turn your head to the right, and exhale as you turn your head to the left. Your trapezius muscles, they trap, incidentally, a lot of tension in the upper part of your back. And this is one of the most effective stretches I know to loosen that up. After a few of those, stretch it out. Send a breath or two out your mouth. And then switch sides. In addition to stretching your traps, this also stretches these muscles on the back side of your shoulders. Those are the posterior deltoids. And if this is a little bit challenging, let's say your shoulders are bulky and or you don't have the range of motion, hold on to your shoulders instead. You get that same effect. Move this way, move that way. And remember, everybody's going to look a little bit different doing this, so don't feel like you've got to be any one particular way. There's always a little bit of improvisation here, right? And once you've done both sides, shake it out here a little bit. Okay. So let's come to our hands and knees pose for a second. We're going to move this way. Okay. Again, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. Inhale, lean your chest forward, lift your sits bones up a bit. As you exhale, tuck your tailbone under, round your back, draw your chin toward your collarbones. A couple of times back and forth. Inhale, pulls the chest forward. Exhale, round your back. After a few of these, put your hands a little bit further forward. Let's curl our toes under and press back into downward facing dog pose. Knees a little bit bent. Then put the top of your right foot toenail side down to the mat. Begin to straighten both legs a little bit. As we stretch those muscles on the top of your shins, that's the anterior tibialis. Okay? And those get super tight if you're kicking in the water for a long time, And then we'll bring this back down nice and slowly. After a few of those, let's come to my favorite stretch where we get a chance to open up our pecs against the wall. So we're going to come up to a standing pose. First of all, I'm going to put my hand up against the wall, elbow against the wall, stand up really tall, and then lean away from the wall as I invite a stretch through my pectoral, place that comes right up and connects right on my shoulder. If my shoulders are open, I might put my palm against the wall and do a little lean away, and then give myself those few deep breaths. This is a great stretch in the front of my deltoid muscle and into my pectoral muscle. Okay? Breathing into that side of my chest. I want to visualize my breath moving into that area, or just focus my attention on that area as I breathe in and out. Then bring it back down. I'm going to switch sides here. Elbow hits the wall. I might lean away, or bring my hand back. And again, for a couple of deep breaths, breathe into those muscles, the pectorals and the shoulders. Okay, and after a few of those, bring it back down. Step over to our yoga mat again. A little bend in the knees. I want to release some tension in our neck. So we're going to do a gentle little forward fold. Interlace your hands behind the very base of your skull. This is your occiput. You're going to pull your hands into your skull and pull down. Be careful not to pull your forehead toward your shins, just rather straight down. Great way to lengthen through the back of our neck here. And then after a few of those, just relax your hands down to the floor. Relax your shoulders and your neck. Okay, we're going to come back to our hands and knees pose. So as we come back down, actually from hands and knees, we're going to do my favorite stretch for the backs of the shoulders. This is the posterior portion of the deltoid muscle. Okay, I call this the "Where have you been all my life" shoulder stretch, because I don't know if it has a name, but this is what I love. I love to do this thing. So we're going to come down to a lying on our belly pose. Right arm on bottom, left arm on top. And I'm just going to put my hands down, drop my chin down toward my triceps, and just feel this thing stretch the backs of my arms. Feels great. Okay, a couple of full deep breaths here. Maybe 3 or 4 or 5 deep breaths, and then I'm going to switch sides. Just pull this arm up, switch to the other side as my chin drops down to the other side. Okay. Give yourself a couple of slow, deep breaths here. Okay. Also, if you want another stretch for the pecs, move like this. Extend one arm off. The other elbow is bent like you're going to do a push-up. And then as you push that foot in the floor, do a slow roll over. Let your head relax on the ground. And stretch those muscles along the inside of your pectoral, your shoulder. You can even bend that other knee and put your feet together. Really awesome for the shoulders and the pectorals. And after a few breaths, we'll bring this back over, switch sides, push your hand, and open this thing up. Deep breaths. If you wanted to, bend both knees. And then after a few breaths, we'll come back. Hands and knees pose. Then we'll find ourselves back to a seated pose. I'm going to grab my blanket, sit up on the edge of my blanket here. Set the soles of my feet together. Sit up nice and tall. Okay. I want to sit so far forward on the blanket that if I were to sit much further forward, I might actually slip off of this thing. Sit nice and tall, relax, and then lean forward some. And at first you might notice the spine's pretty straight, shoulders are relaxed. And then as I hold this for a few breaths, I'm going to lean forward and roll my shoulders and get a great stretch for the upper part of my back and the insides of my thighs. And my head and neck and shoulders are all relaxed here. A couple of full deep breaths. Make sure my jaw stays soft. Then when I come back up, a couple of seated twists. So whatever's comfortable. I like one foot in front of the other. As we swim, we're trying to find a twist in our body as we do so, but let's do some seated twists to complement that action. Put one hand to its opposite knee, send the other hand behind you. I'm going to sit up tall and then do a little twist. It's important to remember that we're twisting using our arms and our shoulders and our sternum, not so much our neck. In fact, I want to find a gentle twist, comfortable intensity. Again, I'm not interested in the most intense pose ever. Find some deep breath, and then I'm going to maybe even turn my head in the opposite direction. Okay, and then after a couple of breaths, let's switch sides. Other hands here. Sit up nice and tall. Full big breath. Turn your head in the other direction. A couple of full, long breaths here. All right, so now when you're ready, let's bring it back. So we've probably burned a lot of energy during our swim, and we want to take a moment to give ourselves a chance to really open up our chest in a way that's also relaxing. Okay, so let's grab our blanket here, and we're going to roll it up so we get this bulky looking roll. Looks like this. And then grab something. I've got this block. You could also use your foam roller if you wanted to. But this block works great. I'm going to put this like so. I'm probably going to keep my knees bent. No, I'll show you what I could possibly do with my foam roller. As I lay back, I'm going to put this right behind, ladies for the bra line, dudes the bro line, all right? Put your head back onto your block like so. Just open your arms up, call that good. Or grab your foam roller, put that underneath your knees, and then open up like this. And we're going to give ourselves several long minutes to just hang out here and breathe right up into our chest. If you have got tight hips, tight hip flexors, these are the muscles that connect the inside of your legs through your pelvis into your back. When your legs go straight, that's actually going to pull on your lower back. So if you keep your knees bent in this pose, that's going to keep this more enjoyable, just more open and upright. So I'm going to say, hold this pose. You can push pause on this thing and hold this thing for like 5 minutes, or as long as your body's going to think that's a good idea. There's a breathing exercise I can do here where I breathe in for 5 counts, hold it for 1 count, and then long exhale, 8 counts. And hold that for 3 counts. Before I do that whole thing again. In for 5. Hold for 1. And exhale for 8. Just kind of counting in my head. Hold that for 3. And I might do that for a little while in this pose. Finally, I'm going to roll over to my side, remove my stuff, or rearrange my props. So I have this blanket behind my head. Grab my block. As I roll down onto my back, I'm going to put this blanket on my head, lift my hips up, slide this underneath my sacrum. Practice grounding my feet to the floor. Again, a nice passive opener for the chest. This is going to be more dynamic for the lower part of my back. Right? I'm still grounding as I feel my feet on the floor. Hearts open up. Again, I'm tuned into that sort of fluid nature of my being here. Be able to roll with the punches, be dynamic. Keep that nice full deep breath going. And then, again, this is something you'd want to hold for several breaths. You could push pause here and stay here for as long as you want to as you relax. The benefits of this pose are multifaceted. First of all, you get a chance to relax, at the same time opening up your chest. Deep breath, lung capacity here. It's a gentle passive stretch for the pectoral muscles and adds a dynamic quality to the spine, which can get rigid after doing the same activity over and over again. Also, I want to feel like my shoulders, my head, and my feet are touching the floor, so I'm grounding down after being in all that water for so long. Coming out of the pose, I can just remove my block, come back down. One way that we can use our foam roller to help support us after the end of a nice swim is to put our foam roller horizontal on our yoga mat, turn around, put this right around the middle of our back. You might choose to support your head using your hands and do a little lift and slowly use my legs to roll down the length of my spine as much as it feels good to do so. I could do this. I could also bend my knees and roll to the upper part of my back and keep moving. Keep my abdominals engaged, obviously, as I walk back. Just roll all those muscles, the length of my spine. From the sacrum and hip bones all the way up to your shoulders are these muscles called the erectors that keep you upright. They're working overtime as you are swimming. This is a great way to get those all kind of worked out. And then after a couple of those, you could just rest your head on your foam roller and turn your head side to side as a great way of massaging out any tightness in your neck. And then you can just rest there for a while. Feels great. Coming out of the pose, maybe just roll over to the side and come back up. Thank you for joining me for the swimming portion of our active recovery practice. By using this practice, it'll help us in our next swim.